in government to often do the right thing, the difficult thing, and often holding government accountable. And I've got a fantastic panel with me this evening. Anele Yawa, who's the General Secretary of the Treatment Action Campaign, Wayne Duvenacher, the CEO of OUTA, Organization Undoing Tax Abuse, as well as Advocate Brenda Madumise Pajibo, who's an activist and director at Wise Collective. You can be a part of this conversation. I welcome you to be. Give us a call, 086 000 2032. And I'm also taking your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Tweet me at Oliver_speaking, Oliver Dickson on Facebook. Importantly, you can also stream the show live. If you go into our Facebook page, our Twitter page, our YouTube page, all of our digital assets, you can certainly watch this as well. All my guests are in studio with me this evening, or simply just download the SABC Plus app if you want to be able to hear crisp quality audio coming through your radio. The SABC Plus app, of course, is available freely in the App Store, and you can listen for free. You don't need to pay anything, and you can listen to the show. You can also stream us on the SAFM website, where the podcast will be available after this show. Thank you so much for coming into studio. Really, really, really do appreciate it. Anele, I want to start with you this evening. There's been a lot of work that's been done in getting the government to take healthcare very, very serious. And there's a number of issues I want us to talk about, but I want us to begin with healthcare. Do you feel, from your reading of the State of the Nation address, was it a big issue? Did it get enough airtime? The president spoke about various breakthroughs, for instance, a cholera, oral vaccine that has been developed in South Africa and will soon be available. He celebrated that as a breakthrough, but no discussion really on the state of our hospitals, no discussion on at least an analysis of what it's like and how they'll be doing to get that back on track, or even just a discussion on the expansion of primary healthcare, which has been an issue and a big issue in State of the Nations before this. What was your reading of it?
Okay, firstly, greetings to you and thanks for having us, as well as greetings to the listeners at home. Just as a public disclaimer, I was unable to listen to the president when he was talking live.
Did you also have load shedding?
Load shedding.
So did I.
Yes, which is actually says that we've got a crisis in South Africa which is not adequately addressed. But also the president of the country not to talk about health, it left many public healthcare users wondering what is in the minds of the politicians, including the president. More especially in a time where we just received as the country a health market inquiry report. The country is in a process of enacting NHI, which is in line with universal health coverage, and there is no mention. And if we are to look, South Africa has a population of about 60 to 61 million, and about 70%, if not more, of our population are public healthcare users. We are seeing in our country a new trend of medical xenophobia, which is perpetuated by organizations like Operation Dudula, who are chasing foreigners, whether they are registered or not. And at the end of the day, the people that they are chasing in our clinics are staying with us in our communities. And what does it mean when you chase them from our healthcare facilities and they don't access healthcare services and they go back and stay with us in our communities in terms of core infection and all that stuff? But we feel like our government does not take health seriously, and maybe the reason is because all government officials and politicians are not using public healthcare system. And if they were using public healthcare system, they were not going to be paying lip service on how we should fix the broken public healthcare system of our country. But because they don't use them, I so wish that one day I can use the same facility with the Minister of Health, with the President, so that all of us can queue there for more than 2 hours for medicines. And when you get to the counter, you are told that there are no medicines, come tomorrow, so that they can feel what the majority of the poor people of our country are exposed to almost on each and every day of our lives. So it was an insult to the majority of the public healthcare users of our country, who happened to be the voters of the governing party, for the president and the cabinet not to say anything about the public healthcare system of our country.
Wayne, you guys have been tracking NHI at OUTA. Is it still a policy priority in this country?
Well, I think universal healthcare is important. We've got to deal with that. But NHI is the vehicle. We believe it's a problem. It's a serious problem. It's not going to address the controls, the administration that is required. And I think what I'm hearing is that we need to fix healthcare in its current state and format right now. And there's just too much disaster happening. And I agree with the sentiments that our colleague here has indicated. If government and ministers were forced to use local health, our national health system, the national schooling, I think they would have a change of heart, because the public at large are suffering. So NHI, Oliver, in its format, what they're planning, will be a disaster, and it will also be a pot to plunder a lot of money from.
Yeah, Brenda, Wise Collective really concerns itself for justice for women. Healthcare is at the forefront when it comes to injustice, given that the majority of our public healthcare users are women who often stand in those long queues. And when Anele said that, I immediately had an image conjure up in my mind of my grandmother going to the clinic every Monday to get her prescription. Did you feel any sort of indication that there is ideation happening in the space of fixing public healthcare?
So let me say, as a disclaimer too, that I did not have the opportunity to watch the speech. It was a conscious decision on my part not to. And I'll tell you why. Is that over the years, what the president has done to me as a South African is he has not given me the hope. He has not given me the satisfaction that I can trust him. There's a trust deficit there when you have a president standing up and making undertakings that he knows fully well that he might not be able to undertake. And the past 3 years has been a clear demonstration of that we stand in front of the public and make certain undertakings boldly so, and we come back as if we did not say what we said. So if you look at what he said on GBV, as I said before, it was a paragraph. I'm not surprised that on any social issues, it was all a sentence on what should happen. Because really, what we wanted to show is around masculinity, that we're dealing with the bigger things. The bigger things is about electricity and energy. And so when we talk about that, we don't want to be disturbed with other things. Can we all focus on getting this energy and not understanding that that in itself has had a huge impact on violence against women, on crime in this country, on the very same healthcare, whether the clinics or hospitals not having access to electricity. So really, the president yesterday was again performing to all of us as if he's in a theater.
How big is the failure in our social network?
It's huge. It's massive. It's massive. And when Anele talks about whether politicians understand and acknowledge where they live and the environment that are part of, you ask yourself whether they live in the same country as all of us, right? Because you can't, in all honesty, get into your car, drive into an area and drive through potholes and think it's okay and pretend that you don't see them. You can't, in all honesty, walk in your Louis Vuitton bag and shoes and jump over sewer in an area and think that is okay, and you go back and you say, I want it to be fixed within a week or two, and you don't go back to find out whether it has been done. I mean, so what are we doing? So it's all performative. It's all about getting our emotions high and thinking, oh, when the president comes and have an imbizo in this area, things are going to change and are going to move fast. No, we have seen it. Nothing happens. And maybe the question should be, and because people keep on asking, is the president responsible for fixing potholes? He is the CEO of this country. The buck stops with him. So when you choose to have individuals in your cabinet, in the different provinces, leading, being part of your governing party, then you need to crack the whip And we have not seen the whip being cracked at all.
Yeah. 086-000-2032. Give us a call. You can also send us a WhatsApp voice note on 0614-104107. Wayne, in your previous lifetime, you were the CEO of Avis, and that's how you got into combating forming outer to combat what do you call the e-tolls. Yeah. We have a minister of electricity now. Would you be keen to be minister of potholes?
Yeah, that would be a good one.
I mean, you counted potholes at Avis.
I counted potholes.
Yeah. Well, you counted potholes and the impact of it.
Yeah. No, it impacts heavily. I left it 12 years ago. The potholes weren't as bad as they are now. Look, it's serious. The Department of Transport is responsible, and they've got MECs. They have power over these people. We build roads. 3 years later, they're not there. People are paid for roads that aren't even built ahead of time, and then they abscond with the money. This is not difficult to fix. And yet we have a ministry that is failing across all fronts. The driver's license issues, the airline services licensing council was in Corate for a year. There are so many problems, and the R2 system has been in introduction for years and still not there. Excuse me. So it's failing on all fronts. The service delivery and accountability at our ministerial level, MEC level, right down to local government level. Yeah, it's just shocking.
Brenda says she doesn't trust the president. He makes proclamations. You know very well he may not be able to undertake. It's just a performance. Do you trust the president even if he says the right things?
No, because it's easy to talk. We want to see the action, and the implementation is not there. So in last night's SONA speech, the number of things that have been spoken about for years now, the digital migration, to bring that up. Well, we're 12 years behind time, making it easy for business to do business in this country. The allowing third parties on the rail network so we can get better service delivery and take trucks off the roads and put freight into rail again. There were so many things that were spoken about. We've heard this, Mr. President. We've heard it.
You don't think anything's happening, Anele? There are new trains on the track. In Cape Town, Minister of Transport, who's moonlighting as a Secretary General in the ANC, he's posting videos every other day of new trains, getting passengers and people back to be able to get to work on trains. Surely that's a sign of progress somewhere?
I can say yes or no. And then the question we must ask is around accessibility and affordability. How many people who are able to access those trains and afford them? But also the other question which I wanted to address is what you posed to other...
Do you trust the president?
The question must be, do we trust the governing party? The president is a representative of the governing party. Whatever that he says is what the governing party stands for. If I am holding a jambok and I'm whipping you, you cannot blame the jambok. You must blame the one who whips the jambok. So, for the past 20-something years...
So it's not about the president, it's about the entire establishment.
Yes. And the other question that we need to understand here, when we fought against apartheid and colonialism, it is not because the people who were on the driving seat were white people. It is because apartheid was evil. Colonialism stole from the people. And then the question that we must ask ourselves now, what is the difference between the current government and the government of the colonialist and the apartheid regime? The only change is the skin pigmentation. But everything that is happening on the ground, starting from service delivery, corruption, everything, there is no difference from apartheid government. We never fought against apartheid because we hated white people. We fought against them because they imposed oppression and poverty on us. That's why Sobukwe said, you remove hatred from the white people. And then, you remove oppression, we will remove hatred. Then the question now that we must ask, were the members of the governing party, when they went into the trenches, fought for themselves and their families, or they fought for the vast majority of the people of our country? And where are they when in our communities we driving in potholes, load shedding, crime, gender-based violence? Where are they living? Most of them, they have since relocated from our communities. They stay in suburbs. That's why even the way they think is not the same way they were thinking during the liberation struggle, because they have since moved away from realities and the daily experience of our people. That's why it will be difficult for them to come with solutions, because they are the ones who brought the problem. So I do not trust the governing party, which happens that I do not trust even the president. Since 94 until now, we have been fed promises. The question we must ask ourselves, how many State of the Nation addresses we have been listening to? Have we started an exercise as the country to say, let's evaluate the performance of the government versus to the promises that they were made to us? The president promised the people of South Africa last year about a bulletproof train and a city. Where are they? The first question we must be talking about is not about what the president said yesterday. It's about the promises that he made in the last SONA, and start holding him accountable based on that, instead of being fed with lies each and every year.
Yeah. I want to move on to other themes. I want to move on to safety and crime. I want to move on to the economy, and I want us to give that enough airtime. But I want to close off this trust deficit conversation. Brenda, what can the president do? What can the government do? And I'll borrow from Anele here. What can the government do to bridge the trust deficit?
Can they be honest for once and say, we don't know what we're doing? And say, we are struggling. We don't know where to turn to. We need help, right?
Yeah.
And take away the arrogance out of the whole thing. Because for me, is, once you admit that you don't know and you don't know where to start, right? You don't do it with arrogance still intact. You do it with humility. And I think that's what I'm missing with this administration, with this government. Sheer humility and an acknowledgement, and stop fluffing and making excuses, explaining things away and justifying things. Admit that where we are at this point, we not know how to get ourselves out of this rut. And that's when we start to build the trust. Because now you have acknowledged, now you are truthful to us. You can't say, I've appointed Nkosi to be in my office to deal with red tape. And don't come back this sense, tell us why Nkosi has left. Because he left. But red tape is still an issue.
David Minele left too?
Yeah, David Minele left too. Come on.
Yeah. When trust isn't an ANC problem, it's a South African politics problem.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, the numbers are indicating the ANC is not going to be the majority party in 2024. Most likely will be a coalition government. That's not going to make the trust disappear. How do we fix the trust deficit that people have, not just with government institutions, but with political actors wholesale?
Yeah, and that's where there's a lot of concern by citizens, because when we've seen it, the voter turnout just declines. People give up. They just say, look, rather than
what vote, is it, 10 million people who don't rock up? Was it 14?
Yeah. It's more than half the people that are eligible to vote. So it's a whole party on its own if you got them all to vote. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about is, well, if there's nothing that resonates with me, then I'm just not going to vote. And we've had this discussion before. Well, how do you get people to at least vote for the least bad, or vote for something that's going to bring about change? We don't know how we're going to affect thinking, but the long and short of it is South Africa has the lowest on the Edelman Trust Barometer, the lowest trust deficit, or the highest trust deficit in the world in its government. 14. It's got a rating of 14 out of 100. So people, the default measure there's distrust. So that's sad, and yet we've got so much potential as a nation. We can raise the prosperity levels extremely high of everybody, but we're just going the wrong way. More people are slipping into poverty than out of poverty, and that's not good for government and trust in government. So I don't know, Oliver. It's really, really something has to change, and it can change. But if you don't deliver, delivery is what brings about trust.
I brought you guys here in part, and part of the conversation Lisego, my producer, and I had was, who do people trust? They trust you. They give you 20 Rand every month. They give you 50 Rand every month. Working class South Africans. Yeah. It is poor people that knock on the door of Treatment Action Campaign and say, help me access healthcare, help me access ARVs, right? It is abused women, battered women, raped women that contact you, Brenda, and say, I have been raped, I need justice, or I'm in a situation where I'm scared for my life. That's who people trust, right? How do we transfer that trust into a way that we make sure effective governance happen? I want to start with you, Brenda.
You know, I've been looking at our electoral system and voting system and political system, and I think, you know, they make it for you know, once you are sent to that power and being elected, I don't know what happens to all of us when we believe that we have been elected, because when you serve, and I suppose when you look at the three of us, we are part of NGO movement, right?
Right.
Doesn't pay millions of rands. It doesn't have the best of benefits. It's sheer compassion and commitment to this work, right? And that's what you're looking for from leaders. You come in to lead and to serve because you're passionate about what you believe in. And what I have not seen in this country is that passion. What I have seen is I can hide behind a political party and know that I can make it to be a premier, I can make it to be in the legislature, I can make it to a MMC because I belong to a political party. Whether I have the passion for this work or whether I have the drive for it, whether I believe in believe in even the ideology that party represents, it's something else. So I have not seen the passion. And once passion is gone, I don't think you'll be able to achieve anything else. What drives the three of us and many other people who are in the NGO movement is the passion. It's because we love what we do, and once you love what you're doing, you are going to drive it hard and get results. We are results orientated.
Yeah, Anela, what I'm hearing from Brenda is that there are good people who can do the work and we have the right heart for the work. For many years, State of the Nation address after the other, there's been a conversation about professionalizing the public service to get good people to the front line. And State of the Nation after State of the Nation address, we hear that work is being done. And for a year, we haven't had a minister in the public service and administration. When Anda Tlotlo left, that was the end of it. How do we get good, hardworking, well-meaning people to the front line? Because everybody's running away from government jobs now. If professionals at least are like, I'm better off in the private sector, I'm better off outside of South Africa.
I think the first thing is to address Chris Sane's fears. Chris Sane said his fear is to see his comrades after we attained freedom, is to see his comrades driving Mercedes-Benz and doing all these expensive things in front of the eyes of the poor people. Two, we cannot continuously say this is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. And then when you call a political leader or the minister, it takes 5 days for that person to respond to you. And they continuously say, no, we are the government of the people. If the government is the government of the people, we need to see them on the ground, addressing the problems of the people. But the other problem that we have is around cadreship deployment. You might have good people in the political office, and then the people that you hire, if these are your comrades who are incompetent but are appointed into these positions because one was in Robben Island, one was a section commander in Lusaka, therefore it means you won't be in a position to reprimand them or hold them accountable. Let's look at our clinics. What is making the problem? The problem at a clinic, you've got a facility manager who is running the clinic, a clinic. And then within that clinic, you have an employee, an official who is supposed to report to the clinic, to the facility manager, and that person is a leader of a union. And outside here, that person is leading a structure. That person maybe is a provincial leader in a union. But when you get to the facility, this person reports to the facility manager. So most of the times, these people are using their positions to get away with murder. And then if I'm a provincial leader working in a clinic, and then I treat the MEC as my colleague, then it's easy for me to say to the facility manager, even if I report to the manager, but if I am the one who gives political instruction to the boss of the clinic committee, who happens to be the MEC, then we've got a problem. So the problem that we have as the country, if we can depoliticize the people that we hire within the public administration, we might be able to get to where we want to be. But on top of that, majority of the ministers and the officials that we have are corrupt. And if they are corrupt or are implicated in corruption and kickbacks, how do we expect them to provide quality services to the people? Because they are beneficiaries to whatever corrupt deals that are taking place on the ground. And then as a result of that, services will not be delivered adequately to the people, because a huge chunk of money does not go to implementation or purchase of services, but it goes to their pockets. And we will end up having these interviews until Jesus comes.
Yeah. Brenda, last night was again a cosmetic celebration of 10,000 police officers being added into the police service. Border control cadets, we'll call them, having been appointed ahead of the Border Control Management Authority. Fighting crime, safety and security was an issue that was also in a paragraph addressed in the speech last night. Do you get a sense that safety and security is a real priority in this country? And do you get a sense that the right people are at the center of it and the right decisions are being made?
No, for a number of reasons. So if you look at what happened yesterday, South African Defence Force, South African Police Service was out in full force, right? They even took pride in that. They took pride in the fact that they unleashed those individuals in their numbers to protect the precinct.
To protect one person.
Yeah, to protect the entire precinct, right? Now, if you can do that, and you now beginning to be a police state, right? And at the ground where ordinary citizens like myself fear for our lives, and if I go to a police station, I know what I'm going to be meted with, right? I'm going to be told, in fact, look at the speech where he talked about 10,111. What did he say? He's going to get work going for digital what, because when you call 10,111 today, it rings and rings and rings. Endlessly, right? And it's something that he has known, and Minister of Police has known for many years. So what is stopping? And for me, it's the basics. Get 10,111 working. It doesn't take millions of rands to do so, right? It's something that we rely on as citizens to get help. If we go further, we go to police stations. When you get there, we are told that we only have 2 vans, right? Some of them don't have fuel in them, right? You find that at any given time when you go to a police station, the time spent by our police officials is around certifying documents. And I think we need to think hard about that and take that service away from the police stations, because the attention is diverted, and they take comfort in that because it does not demand much from them. Our investigation capacity as a nation, and I think we have to ask the question, how many detectives do we have as a country? How many? Trained detectives. Specialized. How many detectives you're going to be shocked? The basic training offered for anyone who wants to enter the South African Police Service, that training that happens in Pretoria, just ask what kind of training they receive. And because SAPC is hierarchical, quite hierarchical. I mean, when what was his name? Commissioner Stoller was the commissioner. Every meeting when he started with a prayer. When he walks in, everyone must stand up. That's how hierarchy and power manifests itself and presents itself. So you have all these police stations with police, what do they call him? Station commanders or station whatever. They don't have decision-making capacities, most of them. They will tell you, SAPS, please do complain about the service that you receive at the police station. We have done that. We can show with the process that we follow and how long it takes for a complaint from a public for you as a resident or a citizen, how long it takes for the South African police to resolve a matter that is at the police station that can be resolved by a station commander. So for me, I don't think, they have the kind of police officer that we envisage in this country. I don't think we have resolved on it. Are we looking for a scope and donor police officer that we used to have, or are we looking for people with compassion who understand how to deal with different kinds of crimes that present themselves at different times, right? And I can tell you now, South African Police Service does not have that. And we have not done the investment in it also. We have not invested. Instead, we have charged the money.
When last night the president celebrated the work of the Zondo Commission, said that he thanks, we as a country owe a great gratitude to Chief Justice Zondo, Commissioner of the Zondo Commission, the State Capture Commission, and then celebrated the fact that monies have been recovered. 7 billion rand is the figure he cited, and he says people who are implicated are being law enforcement agencies are doing the work in getting those people prosecuted and taken to task, despite the fact, of course, that Zizi Kodwa and Gwede Mantashe, both implicated, are still in his cabinet. And he's yet to give Parliament feedback on how he plans to implement the findings of the Zondo Commission. But there was a celebration, and he says work is being done. What's your reflection on that?
Very little work's been done. Look, one shudders to think what would be happening right now if Sean Abrams was still in charge of the NPA and the Hawks were still under the old administration. So they're trying to do as much as they can, but they should be double the size of what they are. Why I say that? And with the expertise of good investigations and prosecutions, I mean, we work with the NPA in a number of cases that we hand over to them, and we do see that they're under a lot of strain. Now, if you're serious about corruption, if you're serious about holding people to account, you have to beef up that space, and you'll save the country billions. It'll pay for itself. So, yes, we might have recovered 7 billion rand here and 27 billion rand there, but that's a drop in the ocean of what we've lost. So we got to get into this mindset of preventative. The criminal justice system must be working for the people all the time. And what Brenda's saying is a shock. That's why 10111, I would hate to work at that call center because it's a futile call. I'm getting it in, and I know if I'm going to have to transfer this to some police station in Soshanguve or wherever, what's going to happen? The police aren't even going to answer the call, maybe, or they're going to react. So it's diabolical. And as you say, they know about this. So there are a number of things happening, but it's just too little to give us confidence that the criminal justice system is working. And remember, the NPA is dealing every day with murder, every day with rape, every day with crime, and they've still got to deal with 10 years backlog of state capture. So they need resources, and they need them fast.
How much?
Well, double the size of it, but don't just throw people at the problem because we're notorious at that. What I think we need is a good plan. I know we've got the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council in place, but first of all, make it easy for whistleblowers and comfortable and safe for them to come forward. Yeah. Protect them and support them. Then the second thing there is set up specialized corruption courts, because when you deal with corruption, you need judges who understand. So you have specialized judges who are trained and right how are they going to deal with corruption cases, what to look out for, what to listen out for. You put those processes in place and put the experts there, you will fast track corruption. And that's what we need here. And then I think we'll start getting on top of it and getting the police professionalized, because, you can throw another 10,000 cadets into the system. But in 5 years' time, they lost to the system. They get rounded up by the criminal components within these communities. The drug lords start taking the bribes, and it's just they get sucked into the system so quickly. We've got to keep them honest. And it's not going to happen just by throwing 10,000, another 10,000. I don't know what the size of our police force is, but is it effective? I don't think so. Not at all.
Give us a call, 086 000 2032. Let's go to the lines. I'm just going to ask, can you guys just all put on your headphones so you can hear our callers? And you can also, our WhatsApp line seems to be down at this moment, but we will take your call, 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Let's go to Sipo in Gqeberha. Sipo, good morning. Good evening.
Yeah, Oliver, good evening. Good evening, man. How are you?
I'm well. Go ahead, sir.
Look, Oliver, just want to start with trust deficit. It's real, it's palpable, we can see it. If you come to the Eastern Cape, you go to Queenstown or you hear it, you don't even have to be there. And with all what has happened, the secretary being exposed to harsh realities that people are faced with, and the minister, Nkosazana, being there and exposed to harsh realities that people are exposed to. And here is the president in 2 weeks after Mbalula was chased out, and the president says nothing about Queenstown and the related towns. This is what reinforces trust deficit, because those people are supposed in those areas and all small towns in the Eastern Cape were looking to the president to hear what he is going to say, at least about Queenstown, which is burning for now. He said nothing. But look, there's still a template that we were given by President Mbeki. That template of urban renewal program. Forget about the name urban renewal program. This is an international concept. Area-based management. This is where government will come back to locals, and the social compact will be formed with communities and structures on the community, and service delivery and programs that will be undertaken by government will be informed by needs and monitored by people. This is what we did. Andile will know about this, and your colleagues in the studio will know because it was there in Soweto. I don't know how much they succeeded, but in Port Elizabeth, in Motherwell area, we succeeded. Andile will know about this. So I don't know what is holding back this government into not going back to that. But let me leave this. Let me tell you something, my reading
very briefly
on the economic front now of what the president intends to do, which he has not pronounced. There's huge amounts of money which will be rolled out through renewables to all those people that are holding bonds with banks. They must expect letters from the bank, invitations to say, you come to the bank, we will give you a solar system, we're giving you 200,000. You are going to pay 16 rand a month for the 200,000 that we're giving you. These are the individuals that are holding a title deeds in South Africa. The people, the farmers, are going to be given 1.5 million to install the solar system. And the companies, private companies, will be given up to 2-3 million rand. This is to change the atmosphere in the country, and this trust deficit going to elections next year.
Okay.
You are going to see the president not going into township for door to door now. He'll be going to farms, he'll be going to townhouses to see that this system is there. Who's going to benefit? The white community. I'm not racist here, but I'm giving you the facts that I've analyzed. The white community does not have trust in government, especially the Afrikaners. Since 1994, there's nothing that they can point out and say this government has done for us. And President is now saying to Afrikaners, here I come, look at me, I'm bringing the cake with the box to you. The companies that will be installing.
Sipho, we're going to have to leave it there, so I think your point well made. Thanks a lot. Really, really do appreciate it. To Sipho's point, Anele, I want to ask you this. Is it fair to expect the president to address community by community issues? And I want to refer to the Komani issue. The floods in Queenstown, there was a protest in Queenstown. The mayor went and got her hair got chucked out of there. The minister of cooperative governance went there and she left there, the community not satisfied. I mean, a high-level government official went to Queenstown. Would it have been fair for residents of Queenstown to last night sit there and say, I hope he says something about us, to hear how he wants to address our issue? Shouldn't we wait for Oscar Maboyano to say something as the premier of the province? Because if it's justified for Queenstown to say, we want to hear what he's going to say to address our issue, then the people of Beggersdal must have an issue to be answered. The people of Ngakamudiri must have it answered. The people of Qwaqwa must have it answered because they don't have water. Is it fair to have that expectation from the SONA?
In a state where you have mayors, MECs and premiers who are not doing their job, it is fair for the communities to expect the president to say something. But if ward councillors, mayors and premiers are doing their job, it therefore means it will be unfair for our people. The question we must be asking ourselves, what is Oscar Mabuyane doing about the state of Eastern Cape in general? Not long ago in KwaZakhele, about 8 people were murdered. You go to KwaNobuhle. I'm from Eastern Cape in Utenik. It's a war zone. Some of the police are conniving with criminals. They are giving criminals information. They are selling them guns and bullets, and they tell criminals when they're gonna have a roadblocks and all what have you. How do you think we're gonna fight crime to an end if the same police force is conniving with the people they are supposed to be fighting with? It therefore means people are left with no hope. They are hopeless, and that's where trust deficit starts to take place.
Yeah. Brenda, is it fair?
You know, politics is about pomp and ceremony, but also performative, right?
So how much of it would have been pandering? Lisiro raises this with me. She says, on gender-based violence, the president said nothing about the gang rape that took place in Krugersdorp, for instance, a tragic moment in the country. He says nothing to it. I'm wondering, if he did say something about it, would you have accepted that as earnest or just performative and pandering?
It will be, for me, performative, right? Because he's trying to say the right things, and I think that's what has been his challenge, is that he wants to say the right things, and maybe the platform is not that the right platform to say those things, because he's under pressure to say the right things. So today we're told why he didn't say a lot on gender-based violence, because there were too many things to say, right? So he can take the backseat, gender-based violence. But I'm challenging the president on that, because you can't be saying that gender-based violence is a pandemic. You said it. We didn't coin it. You coined it as the president, that this is a pandemic. So when you say it's a pandemic, we expect you to react and respond to a pandemic, because you have said it's a pandemic. So when you keep quiet about a pandemic, then we're asking ourselves the question, are you genuine enough about what this issue is about and how it should be attended to and responded to? So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just maybe then let's talk about the configuration of the state. President Ramaphosa has been criticized. Well, the ANC has been criticized of endorsing a bloated cabinet for far too long. President Ramaphosa made a commitment to cut down on that, Wayne. And then last night appoints another minister yet to be named. And he went into the State of the Nation address, having come out of the elective conference in December, enjoying overwhelming support within his party. Still no cabinet reshuffle. Was that a mistake on his part?
Yes, big time. And, you know, he also spoke in the same speech about, as you said, getting his cabinet right, downsizing it, taking out the superfluous departments that aren't doing the work that they should be doing, finding efficiency. But that's been spoken about for 4 years now. 4 years we hear this and nothing happens. And then he goes and throws in another minister of electricity. And what he does there is shows us that he has no trust in the ability of the other 2 ministers, and that there is just no real plan. So if you throw people at the problem, if you open up new departments because you can't fix it through DPE or DMRE, what are you telling the people? You're actually telling the people that you don't trust them. So I'm going to centralize this. I've got security closer to me now. I've got electricity minister. I mean, fix the problem there. And when you do that, Oliver, all you're doing is the accountability now gets spread even further. You saw when there were 2 ministers. The one minister, Pravin Gordhan, is saying, well, you know, I'm going to try and fix Eskom, but the energy crisis is yours, Gwede. You didn't sign all the PPEs off 6 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Now we're in this crisis, and figure this out. If you're managing a big company, and you were told you couldn't procure your energy, I mean, Eskom has to procure it. No, but that's handled by another department. Now we've got another. So we've got 3 departments in energy. That's not going to fix the crisis. That's making it worse. And it sends a very clear message to us in civil society that this minister, this president, has got no ability to fix the problem where it should be fixed. There's no accountability. And so we'll just start another ministry, and hopefully that will fix the problem. It's not going to fix it. It's going to make it worse.
Could a cabinet reshuffle fix anything at the moment?
Well, not if you put the wrong people in. If you're pandering to your party, if you're pandering, as Anela says, to cadre deployment and trying to have favors by people filling these big positions, I mean, look at what's happened in the Department of Transport for the last number of years. It's gone backwards. PRASA has gone backwards. Transnet is in a mess. Our public transport systems in all our cities around the country, there's just so much that's gone wrong. The whole R2 system, as I said, I think we listed about 11 serious things. The RTIA, the RTMC, the NATIS system, all of these are under transport. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we don't have ministers that take their job seriously. We don't have ministers that set out, as you say, in education.
What do you
into the
mean?
schools.
I mean, Becky Clella's at every crime scene.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, sure, but that's window dressing. I mean, that's window dressing. Yeah, when he gets to one, but he just loves the media and the attention that he can get as much as he can.
His responsibility.
Yeah,
as a commissioner, he was a commissioner before. Now he's a minister. He doesn't know how to, to separate himself. I mean, we hardly see the police commissioner, who's supposed to be out there.
I forgot the new police commissioner's name.
Masemola.
Yes, General Masemola. My mind almost defaulted back to Ketla Sitole. Would you get rid of Becky Clela?
Like yesterday. I'm not flinching.
Straight away.
Like yesterday.
Yourself, Anele?
No. People like Kwete Mandash and Figel and Barrow and others, all of those people, the president needs to get rid of them and get new ministers. But also, when he appoints ministers, he must not focus from the governing party. He needs, within opposition parties, there are good people with good intentions. When is the president going to appoint maybe half of his cabinet on people who are coming from opposition in order for him to be able to hold them accountable, because those people will not be his comrades. He won't be scared that if he holds them accountable, by the time they go to the Congress, they will mobilize against him. Because that's what the problem is.
Yeah. And just finally here, unemployment, job creation back on the table. The president last night celebrated 1 million job opportunities for young people having been created. I don't know how accurate that number is. It's an unaudited figure as far as I'm concerned. Wayne, is there any solution in the current crop of policymakers and politicians when it comes to the economy, specifically pertaining to job creation?
I don't think so. We've seen a lot of promises. We've seen very little action. They talk it up over in this area and that area, and the president's stimulation package is creating jobs. I think what we need is long-term jobs where skills and careers are developed, and that will come with great investment in this country. That'll come when people believe it's good to invest in this country. That's when the energy crisis, it's a rolling effect. There's not one silver bullet here. But if we don't fix this problem, again, our unemployment is bad at the moment, and we have youth.
And it's young people who don't turn up to the polls, right?
Yeah.
And it's youth who are coming out of schools who are unemployable because the education system is broken. So you've got to spend another 2-3 years on training programs and internships to get them to where they should be. And we see the stats yesterday. I mean, what percentage of kids at grade 4 can't even read?
Right.
I mean, that's sad. That you're robbing them of a future, robbing of them.
Yeah. On education, very quickly, Brenda, he says, well, we've gone backwards, back to 2011 literacy levels where only 18% of children in grade 4 can read for meaning. And then the very next line, the president says, but we have to congratulate the class of 2022 for, persevering through adversity and performing so well as matriculants. It shows that it's possible. It shows that what we're doing in education is working.
What do you want me to say, Oliver? Really? Now, and I wanted to touch on what Wayne said earlier on. If we were to drive massive employment and have a massive employment drive in this country, it's going to require a huge infrastructure investment, right? But you can't do that when you don't have a stable grid, electricity grid. You don't have a stable electricity. You can't be in construction to maintain bridges, to maintain water facilities, to build new cities that we have said to build, if you do not have stable power supply. That's the first thing. The second thing, you're not going to drive employment if you don't have water. How are you going to mix concrete when you don't have water? Right? No, this is our reality in this country at the moment. So on a daily basis, as a business person, you are calculating what is possible on Monday. Can I do it with 50 people? No, I can't do it with 50 people anymore. I can only do it with 25. You let go of 25. So we are literally getting many people into the unemployment pool again, right? You talk of education and he said we must celebrate the matriculants. They're doomed unless you are in you are from private school, because your parents have got the opportunity. They can afford to take you out of the country, but they can also afford to take you to the best universities in the country. And hopefully, when you come out of UCT, out of VETS, out of UP, you can find a job somewhere else out of the country. That's what's happening at the moment with many of us. Our children have decided they're not staying. It's not worth them staying. The children who are doomed are the many children who have to find themselves in schools that don't have facilities, that don't have teachers who come to work, right? They're doomed. And he wants us to celebrate that? No, we're not going to celebrate it.
Anele, in the last minute that we have, will voters care about electricity at the ballot box next year?
That is what is going to determine who will take the power. All the issues that speaks directly to the material conditions of the poor people on the ground. Many people are saying, come 2024, we will show the governing party what we are made of. And the question we must ask, how is the governing party avoiding that? The only way to avoid that is to do the right thing and stop paying lip service.
That brings us to the end of the program. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, Anele Yawa, who is the General Secretary of the Treatment Action Campaign, Wayne Duvenacher, the CEO of OUTA, as well as Advocate Brenda Madumise Bajibo, who is an activist and director at Wires Collective. It is 7 o'clock. We're back with you next week. It's time for the news.
Independent and impartial. This is SAfm News.
Action to the Minister of Electricity announcement and a flood warning for parts of Bloem. A very good evening.